How's it going, guys and girls? This is Mustard here, bringing you a kind of video that this channel hasn't really given in a while. As NetherRealm and Warner Brothers released character footage for Mortal Kombat X before the game came out, we would take those videos and analyze them, and give our predictions on what we thought the characters would play like. And this is going to be our first in the series of Injustice 2 character breakdowns. So just a few days ago we saw the Black Canary character and gameplay reveal trailer, and just a few hours ago we saw IGN upload a 13-minute long video of just Black Canary gameplay against various characters. Now, namely Black Canary versus Deadshot, who is a character that was revealed a long time ago, but we haven't actually seen any in-depth gameplay of him for quite some time. So we've had a look at these games and we're gonna analyze and see what we think of the characters, so let's get stuck in. So let's start things off with Black Canary. Now, straight up, one of the most important things for any character in Injustice is their trait or their character power, whatever you want to refer to it as. And for Black Canary, it seemed to be this big Banshee scream. Now, we saw this unleashed a couple of times, and it seemed to have crazy range to it, and stun the opponent for a full combo follow-up. We saw multiple times Black Canary would land this, dash in, launch the enemy, and do some crazy damage. Now, it seemed to charge back up over time, but one interesting thing about it is, you can see at the bottom of the screen, this would charge up quite quickly it seems, but the icon changes. So I'm not quite sure if this has like different levels of power to it, depending on how long you've charged it, but we definitely only really saw it a couple of times at what seemed to be full power, so this could be a charged up over time thing. Now, for her special moves, we definitely get the vibe of Sonya Blade from her, with the cartwheel, the parry, the air grab, and even a grenade we saw in her reveal trailer. But we didn't actually see the grenade attack used in this 13-minute long gameplay, so I'm not sure if it's like a gear special attack and they just threw that in as a curveball initially, or if maybe they just happened to not use it in this video, who knows. But one thing that she definitely didn't seem to have is like a traditional projectile. Now, I'm not sure if she has that covered with her trait with the long distance of the Banshee scream, but at the same time, if that needs to be charged up, then maybe she's not going to have this long screen threat in the Ring Blast that we saw in MKX. I know that wasn't the strongest projectile in the world, but it was definitely something to trade with and keep them honest. So maybe she's not going to have that danger from full screen like we saw Sonya before. Also, one thing I wanted to point out was the damage that we saw Canary get using, I'm not sure if it was the cartwheel being meter burned or the air grab or what it was, but it was something that was popping the opponent up for 1 bar and was getting some pretty nuts damage. So that's going to be scary, but we're not done yet. So last but not least, we want to talk about a few of the normals and the strings that we saw. Starting off her down 2, which is basically every character's anti-air it seems, going by the Injustice 2 beta. Doesn't seem to be too out of this world, just a standard uppercut. We saw it anti-air a couple of times, which is always a good sign, but there's not much to talk about here, because the best thing and most important thing about normals and strings is their attack direction. Are they lows, are they overheads, are they highs, mids, all that good stuff, and we can't really judge that from watching gameplay, so I'm not too fussed about that right now. She had some strings that looked like they could be overheads, but again, we don't know, they could have just been mids for all we know. But one thing that did seem to be used quite a lot was this 2-hitting low attack. When you finish the string, it seemed to knock the opponent down, but the first hit seemed to be special cancelable. As we saw late in the video, we saw it go into super, which would assume it would go into whatever special it was that popped the opponent up for a full combo. Whether it's safe or not, which is really important, remains to be seen, but we're gonna have to wait and see. So she might have this low launcher, depending on what she can get from it. But right now, Black Canary is shaping up to be what looks like a very up-close and personal brawler-style character, which would be quite interesting, especially depending on how threatening she can be at a longer range, especially if she doesn't have access to that projectile. But moving on, we're going to talk about Deadshot, and this is where things can get quite interesting. Out of every character we've seen so far in Injustice 2, Deadshot seems unique in the sense that he seems to be completely designed around this long-range, keep-away projectile game, and you'll see what I mean. His character power seemed to augment his gunshots from his wrist cannons in one of 3 different ways. A red bullet, which would add a damage over time effect, a green bullet that would restand the opponent or slightly stun them, I'm not quite sure which one it was, or a blue bullet, which seemed to not only knock the opponent down, it seemed to knock them quite a distance away, and again, this only seemed to affect the bullets fired from his wrist guns. Now, as for special moves, Deadshot seems to have a ton, and I mean a ton, of projectile attacks. From his wrist guns alone, he seems to have a multiple shot firing high projectile that seems to go in a straight line. It looks like he can shoot in the air as well, think Deathstroke gunshots from Injustice 1, and more interestingly, it seems he has this ricochet bullet where he shoots the ground and can shoot multiple different angles, seeming like close, maybe medium, maybe far away. Seem to have really fast recovery on it. We actually saw it anti-air a couple of times, which was really cool, and especially if these shots particularly apply his character power effect, and that's going to be quite dangerous. It seems like he has a mid-projectile shot using his rifle, where he seems to pull his rifle down, gets down on one knee and starts shooting. Again, think Erron Black from Mortal Kombat X, seems to be very similar to that. But this seemed to have a bunch of startup to it and a lot of recovery on completion, which maybe thinks this is kind of a long-range only kind of gunshot. One thing about this move in particular is when we saw it get meter burned, not only did it do a ton of chip damage, look at the amount of bar it built him back for you blocking it. So this is definitely gonna give me the vibe if it's going to be like a Jackie Briggs style machine gun where you don't want to sit and block this. You're going to want to push block, or you're going to want to get out of the way of it to make sure you don't give him all of this free bar. Now, the final special I wanted to point out was this flying knee attack. Think back to Deadshot's reveal trailer. We saw him have this low slide, this Erron Black style low slide. We didn't see any of that in this new footage, so part of me thinks that this flying knee attack has replaced it, because we didn't see it in any strings, we didn't see it by itself, but here is this knee, and the slide is nowhere to be seen. So I'm assuming that the knee attack has replaced it. Last but not least, there are two key observations. One, his walk speed is incredibly slow, seemingly the slowest we've seen so far, and not a lot of combo potential. Think back to Deadshot's reveal trailer. The only real combos we saw were meter burned low shots, which seemed to launch the opponent for a follow-up. We didn't really see anything like that here. Combine that with his slow walk speed and crazy amount of projectiles and range, and his ability to change the range of the gunshots that he uses, Deadshot really seems to be this long range. I'm going to control where you are with my projectiles, and I don't want you anywhere near me, which would make sense and really fit him as a character. That's all from us, guys. Thank you very much as always for watching. Expect more of this content from us as new characters and new trailers come out for Injustice 2. We're super eager to get back into this kind of content, and pre-release is the perfect time to do it. So thanks very much, and we'll see you all next time.